On this episode of Law Weekly, we stick with issues of the financial autonomy of the judiciary and the nationwide strike embarked upon by the Judiciary Staff Union of Nigeria, JUSUN. We have the views of YEMIAKANGBE, the chairman of the largest branch of the Nigerian Bar Association, and I'm talking about the Lagos branch. We also have updates on the judiciary strike, plus some news from the judicial panels inquiring into abuses by the police and especially officers of the disbanded Special Anti-Robbery Squad, SARS. Hello and welcome to the program. I'm Shola Shieli. There are discordant tunes as regards the judiciary workers' strike in Lagos. The chairman of the Lagos chapter of JUSUN, Kehinde Sobowale, via a communique dated April 27th, relaxed the strike rules to allow for partial work in the state. But the national body immediately overruled this decision and threatened to shut down the courts if they open. This was the same scenario that played out last week. But while the back and forth is on, I sat down with the chairman of the Nigerian Bar Association Lagos branch to get his views on the claims in some quarters that the Lagos State Judiciary was enjoying 100% financial autonomy and did not need to join the strike. Lagos alone has over 10,000 lawyers, and the chairman of the largest branch of the NBA says he knows and feels the pain his members and other lawyers are going through. He speaks about some of the losses and is hopeful of a quick resolution.
I mean, everybody should be concerned about the closure of the courts. I mean, there's been a complete paralysis in the justice delivery sector. So, and when you have something like that, you can imagine how, what people must be going through, litigants and even lawyers and all of that. So, and when you have this kind of thing in a society, it's a recipe for anarchy, breakdown of law and order. So people, cannot get justice. That's what it means. It's as simple as that. So, of course, as a practitioner myself, what I would want is for courts to resume, even as far back as, the inception. So we shouldn't find ourselves in this sort of situation. So my take on this is that we should do whatever it is necessary for things to go back to the way they used to be. Normalcy should return as soon as possible. We shouldn't have this strike, be it partial or total one. We shouldn't even have it. We shouldn't even be where we are right now as a people, as a nation. That's my view on that.
I hear what you say about go back to normalcy, the way things should be. But what is normalcy here? In Lagos, we're hearing that because this strike is about the financial autonomy of the judiciary, the implementation of it, because it's guaranteed in the Constitution. But then different interpretations. The Lagos JUSUN is saying that the Lagos state government has complied with autonomy for the judiciary to a reasonable level, 75%. The Lagos state government, on its part, is saying 100%. We're not owing judges. We do what is necessary as at when due. So what is normalcy? What does the Constitution say in this regard?
If we were to go by the bare bones of the law, what it says, it means that from the revenue account, from the consolidation revenue accounts of the federation, the auditor general, accountant general, sends the money right to NJC. NJC in turn remits money to the heads of various courts in the states. So the intent of that provision, of that constitutional provision, is that executive arm should have no hand in the funds meant for the judiciary. If you want to look at the bare bones of the law, that's what it says. But what do we have right now? What we have right now is that money goes to the executive in its states, and they in turn, remit to the head of court. So if you talk about partial in Lagos, one can understand why JUSUN says let it be partial in Lagos. We went to the governor of Lagos State, and he made it clear to us that Lagos State, as far as the judiciary is concerned, in terms of their recurrent expenditure, they've complied 100%. Everything's been remitted to them. Nobody's owed a naira, a penny, or a kobo. But as regards capital expenditure, they've complied up to 75%. And he explained why it's 75%. If you understand budgeting, you know budgeting about estimates, about income. So you can't spend what you don't have yet. So if you are expecting something, you say, okay, I have this now, I have 10 naira now. How do we allocate 10 naira? Roads must take, health sector must take, justice sector must take, then you allocate in that order. So if it's 100%, it's understandable that it's 100%. It's budgeting, and it's a principle in accounting. It's based on income, so on your expected income. So one cannot really, to be honest, fault Lagos State on that basis.
if we go, according to your words, by the bare bones of the Constitution, Lagos is not in compliance.
If you want to talk about complying with the Constitution, then what we have, no, don't say Lagos State, states generally, government at all levels.
All states are no state is in compliance.
Absolutely. So I wouldn't want to single out Lagos State. If anything, from my understanding, from my interactions and investigations, Lagos is even number one amongst other states. What Lagos pays to judiciary and the commitment it meets, no state is even half 50% close to what Lagos State is doing at the moment. So amongst the rest, Lagos is doing way, way, way better than them.
I want to go back to where we started from. The strike is about 3 weeks plus old. Talk to us about the implication that it's having, especially in a society like ours, on the administration of justice, the closure of courts.
We're losing a lot. You can't begin to quantify what we're losing. Number one, you start with the fundamental rights of people. What has happened to people that have been arrested in that period of time and have been taken to police station? Have you been able to take them to court and enforce their fundamental rights, the civil liberties? These are things that you cannot put value on. That's on the one hand. On the other hand, there are people, there are lawyers, who, their daily bread is almost on a weekly or a daily basis. They go to court and do this and get paid. They cannot get paid. You also have, investors who, are looking at your system and saying, they want this done within this space of time and all of that, and it can't get done. So everything's at a standstill. It's a complete paralysis. But for me, much as, you can say these things are there, it's much more fundamental for me than the earning powers of a lawyer or of anyone. Or we're talking about something that affects the Constitution. We're talking about something that affects the fundamental rights of individuals. You know how many people, police will be having a field day right now. The other day in Oniru Axis, there was a case of a citizen that had an encounter with the policeman and all of that. I don't know the fate of that gentleman now. Maybe he's still kept in custody. So on a daily basis, we see these encounters. We see people go to court, rush to court, and seek for the enforcement of their fundamental rights, because the liberties of individual is something that the Constitution places a lot of premium on. So the law doesn't want an innocent person to spend to have his liberty curtailed in any way whatsoever. So for me, it goes beyond the earning powers of lawyers. I'm not even looking at it from that point of view. I'm looking at it from the point of view of people's civil liberties and all of that, and all of that is something that you cannot put naira and kobo on.
So with all of this, being aware of all of this, is there anything that lawyers, leadership of the bar, branch chairman, is there any way that you're putting pressure on the governors to hearken to the demands of Josun and make sure that the courts reopen as soon as possible? Yes,
a lot has been done. A series of meetings have been held with the Governors Forum, with the NBA representatives, with the Minister of Labour. They've had a series of meetings over this issue, and one would have expected in a sane environment, some sort of solution would have been found by now.
Let's end with bar activities.
Okay.
The Lagos branch is the largest branch of the NBA.
By far.
By far. What's the membership strength?
Well, we're pushing, I think we're about 10,000 lawyers now.
Lagos branch alone?
Yes.
Wow.
Lagos alone.
Your 2-year tenure as the chairman of the branch, I know will soon be over. But I want to zero in on one of your campaign promises, when you ran for office. You said you would help create a bar that focuses on its members through achievable welfare initiatives. Welfare. That's the elephant in the room. That's the issue I want to talk about. How well would you say that you've done in that regard?
I think we've gone very far. Bearing in mind the fact that, we were, inhibited in some way with this
the pandemic
and all of that, and all of that. But we're happy because within the first 100 days, I was able to do a lot, even before the pandemic, came about. So what I did say at the time was that I was going to look into issue of medical health for lawyers, and within the first 100 days, I partnered with Hygia to provide, health insurance for lawyers. So with the token sum of about 18,000 naira, you're covered for an entire year. So you have a headache, whatever you have, checkups and all of that, all that is covered within, for the entire year, just with the token sum of 18,000 naira. Because we use our membership to negotiate something, very low, because we're talking about 10,000. That's a great number. So that has been done. Then over and above that, or almost as important as that for me, is the issue of capacity building amongst lawyers. For me, empowerment is also welfare, because it helps you to earn your daily needs, your 1 kobo and 2 kobo. We're in the knowledge industry as lawyers, so a lawyer is as good as what he knows upstairs. So because of that, we said we're going to have in place, various capacity building initiatives in place, and that we have a committee on continuing professional development of lawyers. So we've done a lot of trainings. We did signed an MOU with the Chartered Institute of Arbitrators to train our lawyers in the areas of ADR, so that there's less focus on just litigation. So with this, partnership with the CIR, members are being trained at a very affordable rate, very pocket-friendly rate, training them, in areas of ADR, so that they can navigate in all that space, so that I can go into that. And our plan was to also approach the CITN and other institutes like that to train our members, so that lawyers begin to acquire different skills, new skills that can help them to operate in today's world. So that is one of the things that we have done, in spite of all the pandemic restrictions and all of that.
So talking about welfare, one other issue that is topical is encroachment into the space of lawyers. What can the NBA do about that?
Well, thank you. Very good question, and it's very timely as well. Right now, a lot of people will tell you that many things are happening now, which has encroached into our space. I'll give you an example of that now. I was shown a law, that says that estate surveyors now can't prepare tenancy agreements and contracts, tenancy agreements, and what have you, assignment. You can prepare assignments and documents that transfer ownership of properties and all of that. This ought to be the prerogative of lawyers. Now you go to the bank. Now I was told that years back in the 70s, once you come out of the law school, that's a meal ticket for you. People live on that. People send children to school on that. Send children abroad on that. And that, the ventures, mortgages, and all of that are, quick wins for lawyers then. Just, quick wins, you do this, you do that. Banks always need you to do that, the perfect, mortgages and all of that. Now, banks don't even do that anymore. They get their in-house lawyers to do all of these things for you now. So many things like that are happening. So at the NBA level, you have to sit down and think, how do we generate income for our lawyers? How do we ensure that revenue comes in for our lawyers? So there are many ways to do this. There's 1,001 ways to kill a cat. I am at the moment negotiating with some government agencies in the real estate space, and trying to get rid of surveyors encroaching into our space. Yeah, I'm trying to get rid of them. I'm talking to the lands, the housing ministries, and trying to see how we can correct this and then bring this back into our fold. Trying to see how it has to be a lawyer and a lawyer alone that can do that. So if you have lawyers that can operate in the real estate space in Lagos, we know real estate in Lagos is oil. So if you give lawyers prominent role in that space, I think we would have done a lot for our members. So it's something that I'm engaging with the government on this aspect, and many other aspects. We have to do that. We have to ensure that we were talking about the big four, the accounting firms already. Gradually, we're doing what lawyers do. Now they give opinions to their clients. They give legal opinions. They get lawyers and put them there and do legal opinions. So if you allow them, they'll start sending lawyers to go to court. They are in-house counsel to start going to court and start doing many other things.
Taking over the space that should
be for practicing lawyers. So except and until when the leadership of the NBA, takes the bull by the horn, we're going to lose all of these things. We're going to lose revenue. We're going to lose revenue.
Welcome back. By notice of resumption circular dated April 28 and addressed to all members of staff, the Director Admin and HR of the Lagos State Judiciary, Sanusi Kamal, directed all workers to resume at their various duty posts on Thursday, the 29th of April 2021. The workers were expected to be at work only on Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays of every week until further directives from the Judiciary Staff Union of Nigeria, JUSUN. Like I mentioned earlier, the national body has kicked against that directive and asked the workers to disregard the notice of resumption.
A statement signed by the General Secretary, Comrade Isaiah Adetola, reminded all branch chairmen and executives of JUSUN that the strike was called by the National Executive Council (NEC) of JUSUN, and no branch or chapter had the powers to call a local congress or enter into any agreement with its employers to waive the directive of the NEC. It also declared that no branch or chapter is authorized to open the door of courts in Nigeria, including the Lagos chapter, until the points in dispute are resolved. All judiciary workers were, by the statement, enjoined to stay in their homes until developments are communicated by the NEC. Law Weekly was at the State High Court, Ikeja, to see the situation on ground. On Thursday, the two main gates into the courtroom complex remained locked to prevent vehicular movement into the court, but the smaller gate was opened for pedestrians. The cash office was also opened for those who came to depose two affidavits. A few workers who came to the court, however, left for home when it became clear that the court were not going to sit, as there were no judges on ground. Most of the judges said they stayed away because of the conflicting directives. On Friday, the national body of JUSUN appeared to have its way as the courts were totally locked.
I'm here for litigation filing and I was unable to do what I came here for. I expect the government to do what they are asking for, like to make sure everything is in place, because we all need this people's service. There is no how we keep denying the fact that we don't need it, whereas we do need it and we use them more for what we want to do. Like, law is very important and a key thing in Nigeria.
Meanwhile, in Edo State, representatives of the Nigerian Bar Association, including the chairman of Benin and Auchi branches, on Monday, the 26th of April, embarked on a walk to the Edo State Government House in continuation of their campaign for the implementation of the financial autonomy for the judiciary. 5 of them were selected to go into the Government House premises, and when they returned, the delegates informed the others that they had submitted a letter containing the demand to the Secretary to the State Government, from whom they received assurances of further discussions.
We have just met with the Secretary to the State Government, Barrister Osarodion Ogie, who you know is a member of the Nigerian Bar Association and of the Benin branch. And he has received an acknowledged letter from the National. That's in compliance with the National's directive, duly signed by the 5 branches of the Nigerian Bar Association in Edo State. And he has also had time to discuss with us to the effect that the government of Edo State is amenable to ensuring the compliance with financial autonomy for the judiciary as contained in the Constitution. And that all we need to do is to fashion out a date which he said is going to communicate to the members of the bar, so that we meet as a committee for the purpose of implementation, amongst other issues.
Arising from that, we are going to have another meeting with His Excellency, the Governor of Edo State, so that as already guaranteed under Section 121 sub 3 of the Constitution, the implementation of the judicial autonomy for the judiciary is going to be implemented. So we are hopeful and optimistic that that is not going to take time.
Away from the strike, the judicial panels of inquiry into abuses by SARS and other related issues have been busy in Lagos and Nasarawa State. We have details up next.
In Nasarawa State, the Judicial Commission of Inquiry constituted to look into allegations of police brutality by men of the now disbanded anti-robbery squad SARS has recommended 480 million naira as compensation for victims of police brutality in the state. This was contained in its 4 volumes report, which is submitted to Governor Abdullahi Sule at the Government House in Lafia. From the total sum, 278 million naira was awarded for lives lost and injuries sustained, while 127 million naira are compensations already instituted by courts against the Nigeria police, which the commission added as part of its recommendations. The Commission of Inquiry, which becomes the first to submit its report, says it received 47 petitions and struck out 14 for various reasons.
The Commission has come to the conclusion that some of the petitioners are entitled to compensation. A total sum of 480,680,000 naira is recommended by the Commission as compensation to be paid by the police, that is the federal government, awarded by the Commission for lives and injuries sustained is 278,850,000 naira. Awarded by regular courts, federal and high courts. There were people that got judgment before the federal high court, 100 million naira, and another one, 25 million naira. That judgment has not been executed, and they came before us asking us to recommend that they should be paid, and we saw reasons to make included in our recommendation. It's 127 million naira.
We will discuss it within the state ESCO first, and then from there, based on the recommendations of the State Attorney General, we will now submit it to the appropriate quarters, because most of your recommendations are for police actually to carry out and make payments, especially on judgments that have already been carried out. So I'm not sure if we as a state will submit directly to the police, but I think we'll discuss it at the ESCO level, and then based on the recommendations from the Attorney General, we'll submit it to the appropriate quarter.
However, my learned friend, Mr. Ray.
At the Lagos Judicial Panel on Restitution for Victims of SARS and Other Related Offences, the Managing Director of Techno Oil, Anthony Oyema, has testified in the petition filed by Prince Ayeni Adebayo. At the last sitting of the panel on the petition, the chairman, Justice Doris Okwobi, had granted the request of the petitioner to summon 3 management staff of Techno Oil. Those summoned were the Group Managing Director, Mrs. Nkechi Obi, the MD, Mr. Anthony Oyema, and Mr. Godfrey Okigbo. The petitioner, a stock investor, had told the panel that he was unlawfully arrested and detained by men of the Special Anti-Robbery Squad SARS from July 17th to August 10th, 2015 without bail, with respect to a trumped-up allegation of using a fraudulent check to lift 4 tankers of automotive gas oil from the Kirikiri depot of Techno Oil. He says the allegations were made by 3 management staff of Techno Oil to the police. The petitioner then asked the panel to summon all 3 to testify so that he can clear his name and seek compensation from the police for his alleged unlawful arrest and detention. Led in evidence by the petitioner's counsel, the MD of Techno Oil says he's worked with the company for 25 years but can't recall having any business dealings with the petitioner.
A customer claiming to be the customer of Zebimano paid some money, paid a check, manager's check I suppose, and claimed that he was paying on behalf of Zebimano. And the staffs at the depot went ahead and loaded the truck. I can't recall the quantity now. And I think the same day, the manager's check did not drop. So we contacted our bankers, and they in turn contacted the GT, and GT claimed that the check did not originate from them. It was a bounce. It was a dot check. So at this point, we had to contact the police, and the police took over the case. And afterwards, I think I learned that they arrested a Sunday at Dubai.
And that's our program this week. Don't forget that you can find these and past episodes of the program on our YouTube page. I'm Shola Shele. Thank you for watching, and see you next week.